This year, Samsung has a new model of foldable phone. I'm talking about the Galaxy Z Flip7 FE. It's meant to be a less expensive alternative to the regular Z Flip7, so what's the difference here? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our Z Flip7 FE review. Samsung's foldable phones are known to be quite premium and far from cheap. But this year's new FE is the first quote-unquote budget model of the series. Like what we've seen previously from Z Flip devices, the Flip7 FE is the same size as your typical smartphone. But thanks to its foldable display, the whole phone can fold down into a compact square shape, with no gap in between the two halves. And while folded, there's a smaller second screen you can use. This secondary screen is one of the main differences between the Z Flip7 FE and the regular Z Flip7. While the more expensive models is edge-to-edge, the FE's is smaller, with a little jog around the cameras, actually just like last year's Z Flip 6. It's not just the cover screen. The Flip7 FE's inner screen is also a bit smaller than the Flip 7's. The design is a bit less elegant too. The FE is a bit thicker, with a wider hinge. The build materials are the same though, with an aluminum frame and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 protection. The hinge design seems to be taken directly from last year's Z Flip 6, and besides being a little thicker than the Flip 7's, it works perfectly well, allowing the phone to fold down completely flat. And the FE has the same ingress protection as the Z Flip 6 and 7. It's rated at IP48 against water and dust. Let's talk a bit more about the displays, starting with the cover screen. It's a 3.4-inch OLED with a 60Hz refresh rate. That's lower than the 120Hz on the Z Flip 7, so swiping around on the FE's cover display may feel a bit less smooth. Other than that, and the different shape, the display works the same as the Flip 7's, with an identical widget-based interface. Unlike what we've seen from Motorola's cover displays, Samsung doesn't provide much native app support here. You get 4 apps in total. There is a way to get more through a separate app, but those aren't guaranteed to run properly. The Flip7 FE's main display is the foldable one. It's a 6.7-inch OLED with a 1080p resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. You can tell that a crease is there where the screen folds over, and you can feel it too. You get used to it after a while though, so it doesn't get in the way. While the screen is smaller than the 6.9-inch one of the Flip 7, it works great. There's good sharpness and contrast, as well as support for HDR10+ video playback. The screen is plenty bright too. We measured up to 740 nits maximum with the manual slider and extra brightness toggled on. And if the brightness is in auto mode, it can boost all the way up to nearly 1450 nits, good for use outdoors. The cover display isn't quite as bright. We measured about 440 nits with the manual slider, which boosted to around 1150 nits in auto mode. The inner screen's refresh rate is quite adaptive thanks to LTPO tech. You get a smooth 120Hz for your swiping and scrolling, which can dial down as low as 1Hz when idling to save energy. That's not the case with the cover display. It works at a fixed 60Hz refresh rate. The Z Flip7 FE has a pair of stereo speakers for audio, and they earned a rating of good when it comes to loudness. And the sound quality is good too, just like the Z Flip 6. You can listen for yourself with the comparison tool linked below. For biometrics, the phone has a capacitive side-mounted fingerprint reader. It's quick and responsive. And the Z Flip7 FE comes with 128 or 256 gigs of storage. That's not expandable through microSD. The interface of Samsung's new foldables is the new One UI 8, running on top of the latest Android 16. As far as the layout and visuals go, the new One UI is just the same as what we've seen before. Of course, as a flagship device, on the Z Flip7 FE you can count on the whole package of AI capabilities that Samsung has to offer. That includes Gemini Live. It can recognize objects it sees through the camera and perform context-specific tasks. One thing you don't get here is DeX connectivity, which you do get on the Z Flip 7. And for support, the Flip7 FE will be getting 7 major OS upgrades and 7 years of security patches. This year's Z Flip series went in a different route than its predecessors, using Samsung-made Exynos chipsets instead of Snapdragon ones. So inside the FE model is the Exynos 2400, along with 8 gigs of RAM. It is less powerful than the Exynos 2500 inside of the Z Flip 7, and in benchmarks the FE is even outscored by the Z Flip 6, with its Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. Still, the performance level here can be considered flagship grade. The thermal management isn't great though, as is typical for phones that have a high-performance chip and a hard-to-cool folding form factor. In our prolonged stress test, we observed swift and heavy thermal throttling to less than 50% of max CPU performance. While the Z Flip7 got a larger battery this year, the FE model makes do with the same capacity as last year, 4000 mAh. As expected, in our battery life test, the FE's scores were less than the regular Flip7's. With a mediocre active use score of 10 hours and 9 minutes, the battery life is along the same lines as the Z Flip6. The Z Flip7 FE supports 25-watt charging, and with the proper adapter, we were able to charge the phone from 0 to 54% in half an hour, and the full charge took about an hour and a half. Here's hoping you aren't in a hurry. There's support for wireless charging here too. And now the cameras. The Z Flip7 FE has a 50-megapixel main cam paired with a 12-megapixel ultrawide. It's the same setup as both the Z Flip6 and the Z Flip7. It's no surprise then that the FE's main cam captures more or less the same photos as the other recent Z Flip phones. During the day, they come out very good, with well-rendered detail, good-looking colors, and wide dynamic range. You can also expect very good shots of people, with natural skin tones and spot-on exposures. Shooting at 2x digital zoom will also get you very usable images. They're even pretty good. The level of detail is not exactly pin-sharp, but it's not half bad either. In a similar fashion, shooting people at 2x zoom will mean slightly inferior absolute sharpness, but you get an improved perspective and a more convenient shooting distance. This is the default zoom level for portraits. At night, the Flip7 FE doesn't tend to use its night mode automatically. The default images you get from photo mode are fairly grainy, and their shadows can be pretty soft, even though detail is generally good in better lit scenes. Dynamic range is very good though, and colors are on point. Night mode will get rid of the noise, at the expense of some heavier sharpening. That's still not too offensive. Dynamic range doesn't change a whole lot. When shooting with the ultrawide camera, we appreciate the rather extreme coverage and the generally good sharpness with distant subjects. The well-tuned colors and wide dynamic range don't hurt either. There is no autofocus on this camera, so you won't be able to take close-ups with it. In the dark, the FE's ultrawide actually captures softer images than what the Z Flip7 was capable of. But the quality is still decent overall, with excellent colors and dynamic range. Night mode cleans up the noise and brings the sharpness closer to what you'd get from the more premium Flip. Here's a look at selfies from the 10-megapixel front-facing camera embedded within the inner screen. They're not too bad, with good detail. However, it's quite convenient to snap selfies with the rear cameras as well, using the cover screen as a viewfinder. And like on the Z Flip7, you get a nice camera interface on the cover screen, complete with access to filters and a zoom slider. Selfies taken with the main camera have improved detail over the standard selfies, and there's some background separation here too. Plus, you get autofocus on this camera. And selfies taken with the ultra-wide can be handy to fit a group in the frame, or for a creative effect. The Z Flip7 FE can record videos in up to 4K at 60 FPS with all of its cameras, even the internal selfie cam. Videos from the main cam are solid, without really standing out. Sharpness is okay, colors are pleasing, and dynamic range is nicely wide. The ultra-wide is on the soft side of things, but the results are alright for this sort of camera. Electronic stabilization worked well in our experience, with only very minor shake left over in footage taken while walking. And in the dark, the main camera's clips are decent. They are somewhat soft, but noise is kept in check. Alright, there you have it guys, the Galaxy Z Flip7 FE. It's a new Samsung foldable phone for less money than the Z Flip7, and that's pretty much the selling point here. The problem is, the design and the features are basically one-to-one with last year's Galaxy Z Flip6, except you have a bit of a downgrade in the chipset even. And also, in many markets the Z Flip6 is cheaper. So in the end, if you can still find a Z Flip6 for sale, there isn't much reason to get the Z Flip7 FE. Thanks for watching guys. Here are links to our reviews of the Galaxy Z Flip6 and the Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.